I found a lot of people have started to exercise
Yeah,
more through this
yeah,
pandemic, which is
yeah,
great because it's shown that people need to look after their health more, especially to fight off something that's attacking the respiratory system.
yeah.
So you see people more running and cycling now. So that's a great thing for people to go and start doing.
Okay, Jack, I'm curious, what inspires you the most today?
Um, I've got quite a lot of different inspirations in my life. My family have always inspired me, especially my dad. He's always worked hard. My brother's always been very hardworking and above board with most things, so that's inspired me. A lot of people I first met when I joined the health and fitness industry inspired me loads. So the way they managed their business, the way they had different perspectives towards health, exercise, and fitness. My mentors I previously spoke about as well. So I guess people probably inspire me more than anything else.
Cool. And the version of yourself that's obviously you're still quite young, right? There's still so much to come, there's still so much to go. Um, to evolve yourself into the next version of yourself, what kind of skills do you still need to master, grow, or learn to become that?
The biggest thing would probably maybe like not time management, because I manage my time really, really well, but because I manage my time too well, sometimes I do too much. I'm very driven. I like to be busy. I like to help people. I get huge reward from it. But I've had times in the past where I've took on more than I can chew.
Mhm, mhm.
So I guess I don't use the word limits, but putting a boundary on the amount I do so I can do more within those boundaries.
Yeah. And I think from what you said there, I was in that space for a long time, probably up to 40, where I probably took on too much. Now looking back at the version I am today, at the time, it was all in good intention to just continue to help, continue to help. What I learned was that unless you're strong yourself, unless you value your time yourself, you can't really give with the full energy which you believe you have, because you're sometimes you can run on empty, even though you know you can still do it. It's not being the best version of yourself. So what I found for myself is restricting that a little bit, to say, even though I can, I'm going to say no, because it is a muscle. It's a muscle that you need to build in your own brain, in your own mind, which I learned after a while. And saying no to things, because when you say no to things, you say yes to yourself. And when you say yes to yourself more, you become stronger. So when you say yes to someone else, you know you're giving them, first of all, with the right energy. You don't feel like you have to because you want to. And secondly, because you're giving from a full cup. And when you're giving from a full cup, there's more than enough for everyone to drink out of, right? So when that energy is passed on in that way, the only thing that can come out is goodness. And when goodness comes out for both sides, that continues to fill you up even more to be better. And I think to be, going sort of forward, I had my wife, I had my kids, and at times I was dating them and I was married to my work. And I think over the last few years, I've changed that, where I'm now married to my wife and full dad to my kids, and I'm dating my career. And at the start, I know I needed to be that way, but now I am so much more of a complete person because I feel more whole for those around me. And I'm sure your wife would say a similar thing about you, in terms of, you give so much everywhere, and that's probably why she married you in the first place. But as we evolve as people, and as we realize that our time is more precious, especially for the things that make us who we are. And I know you have close bonds with your dad, with your brother, with your wife, and you want to spend time with them outside of your environment, right? So you can be the best when you are in your environment. So if we can go a little bit into your relationship with your brother and your dad, we're both male, so that masculine energy between people. So like I have a dad, I have a brother as well. And the energy that serves us is, my dad has never been he's always been caring in his own way. Never sort of the hug type, the love type, but more of a driven type to push us to be the best we can, and to care by showing that he's grafted and he's worked hard and he's laid his example for us to be a similar way. Now, that's my relationship. My dad and my relationship, my brother, is we're like friends. We're like best friends. We can talk about anything, and we accept each other for who we are. So for men talking, so me talking to you man to man, what's the importance of that masculine relationship in your life, and how does it serve you?
So my dad was always very loving and caring, and he was always there, but he was always very busy with his job as well. Mm-hmm. So he gave us two great qualities of be hardworking, be a provider, do the best you can to put the food on the table, and also give love and empathy.
Yeah.
But then through times, probably the worst times for my age, when I was misbehaving, he was probably at a point of his career where he was too busy and too stressed. So then naturally there was the clash, and there was the conflicts between us, where he probably didn't manage situations as well as he could, and I was being, the little shit that I was, being a kid growing up. And although the love and the care was there, because of his own stress and management of his work, he didn't have the time to put the full empathy into the situation.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until kind of he relaxed a bit more and I got a bit older that he kind of then just stopped trying to intervene and was like, I'm here, I love you, I care for you, do whatever you choose to do. If I don't like it, keep it away from me, and I'll kind of support you with it. Or if I don't want to support you with it, that's your decision. I still respect your decision, but you can go and make your own mistakes.
Yeah.
That was kind of the relationship with my dad.
Yeah. Now, how about your brother?
We've always got on really well. We're very similar, but very different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the younger brother, so I'm the middle child with the older brother. So he's always took the shit from the parents, shall we say. He's always had it in the neck.
Yeah.
So a lot of his frustrations were towards me, with the grief he was having to deal with from the parents.
Yeah.
And I guess at the time I didn't know it, but being the older brother, he's always had that like secondary father protector role.
Yeah.
Which is good. But then as a younger brother, you do have that as well.
Yeah.
And like we since like our 20s, we've got on really, really well. And when we meet now, although we're completely different, we have lots of similarities and we share perspectives really well, which is good because it seems like he doesn't not agree, but he doesn't live by some of my values and I don't live by some of his values. Mm-hmm. So it's like we're critiquing each other when we meet, although we're not, because we're brothers and we get on so well. We're actually just sharing a different perspective on things, if that makes sense.
And I think when you have a good family bond, which it seems like you guys have, you have a respect for difference, right? In terms of, I have, similar to me and my brother. My brother almost is like an older brother to me, but younger in age. So he's very, I'd say more responsible, but I'm more of the, like I said, I'm the center child. I'm more of the black sheep. I go out and I'm more creative. I just do things and then work out how to work out later, whereas he's more planned and organized and methodical, same as my older sister. They're more sort of planned and methodical, whereas I'm just, let's just try it and see what happens, right? So, and that energy fuse, I think, works really well because he can honestly say certain things to me and I'll take on board. Likewise, I can say honestly things to him. And the way we both live our lives, we learn from each other just by the way we live, because I have a certain energy I put into life and he can pick up on that. And likewise, he has a certain way he thinks about certain things, especially about money and things like that. I've learned so much from that. I draw that upon them. Because there's a mutual respect, I think there's a greater bond because we're not there to judge each other. We're just here to help and support and guide where we can, listen where we can, and just be the best we can for each other. And that we both know we're both on our own journeys. We're both doing the things that we like to do to be the best we can. And if we can ring each other to help or support, or spend time with each other to try and grow the parts of ourselves that maybe we're not that great at, I think it's great to have that bond, especially within siblings, because we know we're always going to be siblings, irrespective, right? And when we have that mutual respect, I think that's an energy which people that don't have is almost missing, because I know it provides me so much in my life to give me the foundation to be the person that sits here and talks to people and creates bonds, because I know I have such a good foundation under me in terms of not just my siblings, not just my parents, but my wider family as well, and friends as well that have come into my life that have become like family. So having that gives me the opportunity to live my life the way I want, and the choices which I've chosen. And if I know if shit hits the fan and everything balls up, I'm not going that far, because I have so many good people around me. And having that energy around me only drives me even more to push even further, push the boundaries even more with conversations that they can get. You know, I do a lot of this for them, because I can have conversations with people like you that can open up certain conversations that they may never even get, you know. So as we sort of are in a pandemic situation where people are quite worried, quite stressed about their own lives and about their situation, what, you know, from a professional hat, what kind of things could they be doing to sort of ease them in terms of maybe health, maybe exercise, maybe movement, that they can do on a day-to-day basis that maybe they can continue even when this finishes?
I found a lot of people have started to exercise more through this pandemic, which is great, because it's shown that people need to look after their health more, especially to fight off something that's attacking the respiratory system.
Yeah.
So you see people more running and cycling now. So that's a great thing for people to go and start doing to build up some fitness, some health, some good energy. One bit of advice there was don't try to do too much too soon, especially if you're new to it, because you might injure yourself and things might hurt. Just, you don't have to go into yoga or Pilates or meditation, because they're quite advanced practices, but just doing some gentle stretching, some breathing drills, going out for walking would be some really good things you could do. So if you're going out for a run, make sure you have half an hour afterwards to stretch. Maybe do some breathing drills first to down-regulate your nervous system, so you're not going straight out into the run into a stress state. Does that make sense? So
yeah, of course. And so from a selfish point of view, so with my practice of running, what I probably am not very good at, which you can probably give me some advice on right now, is before I start running, I literally get changed, put my watch on, and I go. I don't do any sort of warm-up stretches. I don't do anything. And I found that just running slower initially sort of loosens me up. So when I finish, I still feel okay. I've only recently started taking stretching more seriously when I finish, so trying to sort of spend time doing that. But what kind of other things should I be doing if I'm now looking to move that on to the next step in terms of longer distance?
So what you're doing is kind of the right thing, because unless you're running at a really fast speed. So sprinters might spend an hour to warm up for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Because it's so explosive and because their muscles are going into such fast contractions. Whereas with endurance running, because you're running for such a long period of time, you might just start with a bit slower and then build up.
Yeah.
You just might do or if you were at a race event with a start line, you might just do some light jogging to warm up.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is the right thing in that perspective. What I would say is have a bit of time before the run. So if you've been doing an interview or you've been doing a bit of work or you've been out with the family, have just kind of 10, 15 minutes before the run just to relax your body a little bit and just to create a bit of space and a bit of harmony, and then go out to the run. Because you never want to go out on a run in a stressed state, because your body will mimic that. And
because I generally go out first thing in the morning, so it's the first thing I do. So I'll get up, have a pint of water, and then I'll head out, and that's normally sort of between 5 and 6, because I find I like that time, especially now when it's quieter on the roads. But even in winter, when it's dark, it's cold, I feel alive. It's like me against nature, and there's this sort of like visceral thing that comes out of me. And that's the times I like. So it'll be sort of first thing. So generally, I don't have my mental state is in a good place. I found that fasting, like I don't eat anything, I don't drink anything apart from water, and then I just go. And normally for up to 10 to 13 miles, that's fine. But I know I'm going to need to change this if I'm going to sort of move forward. So what other things do I need to start thinking about now in terms of the nutrition side of things if I'm going to go longer?
So I've traditionally only ever had a banana before an early morning run, because sometimes you don't want a heavy stomach when you're doing an early morning run. But you want to make sure the fuel's in your body. But you can fuel up the night before, a couple of days before, kind of 3 to 4 days before you can start storing fuel.
Is that like carbs, like pastas and stuff like that? Is that?
Well, it can be anything. So fats are actually better for endurance running.
Okay.
Because they release slower, they're more oxidative.
Yeah.
So it's better for kind of your breathing and your circulation.
Yeah.
But it takes about 6 months for your body to be able to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're used to carbs, stick to carbs.
Yeah.
Or if you've got the time, you can make your body more fat oxidative, so you can start introducing a bit more fats.
Okay.
Because that is better for your endurance athletes.
Yeah.
And your carbs are better for your sprinters and your weight trainers. So fueling up on whatever kind of nutrients suit you most.
Yeah.
If you don't like doing it in the morning, the night before is a good strategy, or even a couple of days before. So when you get to your 18-mile runs, 20-mile runs, let's say you're doing on a Sunday, you might want to start eating more on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the quality of the fats as well, isn't it? It's not just any fats, but understand the fats you put inside your body to sort of like fuel you well. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you've your fats, you've got, well, there's kind of 4 types. There's saturated fats, which is polyunsaturated and monounsaturated.
Yeah.
And then there's unsaturated fats and trans fats.
Yeah.
So the best are your monounsaturated fats, which are things like your nuts, your avocados.
Yeah.
Your omega-6s are great as well. And your omega-3s.
And are they more from like fish products and oily products?
Your omega-3s is your fish. So I'd probably take a cod liver oil, fish oil as a supplement.
Yeah.
So your omega-3s are your fish, your omega-6s are your seeds.
Okay. Yeah.
You want a 5-to-1 ratio of your omega-3s to your omega-6.
Okay.
So 5 times the amount of avocados and fish in relation to your seeds and nuts and stuff.
And what's your view on, because I'm a pescatarian, right? So I gave up meat. So 15 years ago, I gave up meat, and I've not looked back since. And for me, it's been probably the best health decision I made, sort of hands down. A lot of people say if you want to eat, you need to eat meat to push yourself further, or be strong, or be, whichever way. I don't agree, because I know for me, it's not served me, and my diet right now is really good, because my wife is into nutrition as well, so that's good. What's your opinion on that, in terms of people that might be listening that says actually on a pescatarian diet you can't do that? What would you say?
So I'm like, in relation to like vegan diets, they've been a bit of a trend. But people do it uneducatedly. So that's why there's this myth that it's not enough and you need more protein from other sources. The great thing about a pescatarian diet is you can easily get enough protein from the fish and from, let's say you might have cheese and stuff as well. So I don't think you don't need meats, like some red meats are really hard to digest. They'll sit in your gut forever. Your gut's next to your diaphragm. So if your gut's under stress, your diaphragm's going to have to work harder. Your breathing's going to get worse. So I kind of disagree with that an awful lot. It takes a bit more knowledge and a bit more education to get these protein sources from elsewhere. The reason I went pescatarian is because I knew I wouldn't have to stress about the amount of protein that I need. Because it's two sources of fish, and eggs in the morning gives me more than enough.
And it's interesting you speak about these things about the seeds, the fish, the greens as well, in terms of the salads and things you have, and just generally having that knowledge. My knowledge is a lot of it's came from my wife, because she's been on this journey for a long time, and she obviously makes the meals, and she's very clued up on what, the micronutrients and things like that, because she's a fitness instructor for prenatal, postnatal. So she deals with sort of pregnancy and things. So for that, it's obviously quite important. And I think I am blessed to have someone like that in my life, because I don't have to think so much. I do, and then I learn afterwards. So I see how it's helping me in my body. And that's been always my biggest judge. How does it serve me? How does it help me? You might tell me, but I might try it and it doesn't help me. That means I have to listen to my body and say, actually, Jack knows his stuff, but for me, it doesn't work. And therefore, I need to go on my own education tip to understand. And I think a lot of people can take a lot of information from the outside environment, from internet, from social media, from people, but not implement it into their life to know if it actually works for them or not. And if you don't do that, that's not just with nutrition, I think that's with anything. If you've not tread the path yourself, we talked before, we had this conversation on air about experiencing things yourself to know if it's good for you or not, and then serving from that place, right? So you serve your clients and you serve the people that come in from you based on the knowledge you have, because you've run the run, you've walked the walk, you've been through the shit, and you've come out the other side, and you can say wholeheartedly, this is what served me, and this is the place I've been at, and this is the knowledge I've gained, and this is what I've done to walk that path. And rather than it being shelf knowledge, it's self-knowledge, right? You've taught yourself. So, coming on that, what's the importance to you to continue to tread that path in this way, to continue to live your life in this way, to be the best version of yourself for the people around you?
I guess when I'm kind of giving advice and educating people, I'm trying to prevent them from making failures that I've previously made. So if I advise someone to take this route or that route, I'm trying to say, go this route because it will stop you having to deal with X, Y, and Z on the way.
Yeah.
So knowing that, and knowing it's kind of my role to help people save time and make shortcuts and make better decisions to get better outcomes. Personally, I need to be prepared to take risks and not be scared of failing. Even if it's at my own expense, evidently I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But I've got to be open to trying new things. I've got to be open to failing if I try something. I've got to be open to just going at something, taking risks, to then learn from it, to then help advise and educate people to save them time.
Yeah. And I think it's something you said there. To me, what I've learned is when you use the word failure, there's such a negative connotation in society about failure. I've learned the most from failure. I've learned, and I don't see it as failure anymore. I just see it as learning. I just feel I had to do certain things, and maybe it wasn't the right way, and I learned maybe that's not the right way. Or I learned that, okay, I tried this and it didn't work for me, even though it worked for someone else. But I learned. And if I've learned, that means it was worth me doing, even though it didn't work for me. And we can sit in a box, or we can sit in a bubble and not try anything and say, oh, I'm going to fail at this, I'm going to fail at that. But unless you go out and actually take the risk and take the gamble, first of all, you don't know. That's the first thing. And secondly is, if you do know and it doesn't work, you've learned that it doesn't work. And you might have saved a whole lot of time by trying it now, then later, when you sort of reach a certain level where the fall might be even harder when you fall off that, right? And especially, I think this should be taught at school from an early age in terms of failure, because I think the UK school system teaches us just to memorize shit and pass the test. Memorize, pass the test. First of all, I don't see the benefit of memorizing anything anymore, because Google will tell you everything you need to know if you need to know how many kings there were in France at a certain period of time, right? There's so many soft skills that we as adults go through, right? In terms of relationships, in terms of money, in terms of, us being the best we can in terms of our health, our nutrition. And these things are never taught to us at the time, probably when we need it most, our formative years, our younger years. And then as a parent, I feel it's my role to live our lives in a certain way, so our kids only see that as their reality, right? They only know us as parents. They only know we train every day, we eat well, we drink water, because this is normal. I want that to be the normal, because it wasn't normal for me. We learned this as we got older, right? So what kind of things have you learned from a young age that you've had to unlearn as you've got older to become who you are today?
I think the biggest thing was unlearning the stuff that didn't really mean anything to me. So at school, they want you to learn all these different things when they don't actually teach you anything about yourself.
Yeah.
And the minute someone teaches you something about yourself, you will naturally learn what you want to learn, what you're passionate about, and what you will be good at, and what you can develop and drive. So I think unlearning a lot of things I was taught at school that didn't really mean anything to me, unlearning kind of certain things that were educated to, or beliefs, I guess, certain beliefs that were pushed towards me that didn't really align with the way I'd seen the world.
Yeah.
To then make my own kind of territory, my own kind of map. You know, like, you know, failure's a great example. So failure's not always a bad thing. The first few times you fail, it sucks and you hate it. But you're always taught that failure's bad. You have to pass. You need the top scores. They don't teach you that, well, when you fail, you actually learn what you do wrong. So you're more aware of making mistakes in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing.
I think even like my daughter, she's 14 years old. So I told her, if you want to learn a subject, just do the exam papers first. Do the exam papers and then find out what you actually don't know and start learning that rather than just learning everything and trying to memorize everything. Because I remember I used to do that. I had no real skill in terms of revising. I just thought, okay, memorize everything. And once you memorize everything, pick out the bits you need for that test. And as soon as that test is finished, it was like someone opened the back door to my brain and all that information flooded out because I knew I'm probably never going to need it again. And I think that's the flaw in this education system right now. And whether it's a conversation for another day, is the system too big to change? Is it just so deep ingrained? It's like the NHS. Is it too deep ingrained for any new change to happen? Or is it going to take generations and generations and generations? Now we have the internet. Now we have Google. There's so many ways we can learn. I know I'm more of a visual learner. If someone shows me something, I'll pick it up. If someone tells me to read instructions, I can get it, but it takes me longer. And likewise, you might be an auditory learner. You might hear it and pick it up, but you're no good at reading stuff, you know? And I think we learn all in different ways. I just don't think the school system, you know, serves everyone the best way. There are certainly benefits. There are certainly ways that it's great, but there's so many ways that it needs to evolve and improve, and it just seems to be happening too slow. You know, if we look at our own lives, so much has changed in the last 30 years to how we live our lives, to how we used to live our lives. The next 30 years, I can only see getting quicker and quicker, but the schooling system is still the same. It's no different to when I went to school. There might be a 5% or 10% difference, but that's no different. So probably a conversation for another day, but I just sort of aired a few grievances there. With
one thing I would say there, it's like at school, and this is something I've had to unlearn, they teach you to know the answer. And then you go through life always looking for the answer, but it's not about knowing the answer. Like you're saying, you can Google the answer, you can memorize all the answers, and you can get straight A's.
Yeah.
What I would focus on is teaching people, learning how to think.
Yeah.
Teaching people how to understand the process, trying to find solutions and resolutions rather than just the answer. Because it's easy to know that 4 times 4 is 16.
Yeah.
How does it equate? How does it work?
And
how to think and create is the main thing.
And it's not also on top of how, but why is it like that as well? Because if I can just tell you, eat this, but if you don't understand why you're doing it and you understand how it's going to change you, why am I going to do it? And I think that's where our parents, so like my parents were, you know, from India and Africa, and they came over the first generation. They rarely questioned their parents. It was, my parents said this, so I'm going to do this. As we got older, we were taught to question. Why are we going to follow certain things, especially my culture, that I don't understand? And always a lot of the response was just because you have to do it. And for me, the answer was, well, if I just have to do it and you can't explain to me, there's no reason for me to do it. And I think that frustrated them initially, but then now they even get that. Because we'll question them. And if they don't know, they'll just say, I don't know. And then it's our choice whether we want to follow it or not. And I think where a lot of cultural baggage can come is from that, blindly following without question. Because when the person who's teaching you doesn't know, what the hell are you going to learn when they don't know themselves, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you telling someone, run like this. If you don't know why you're telling them that, how are you educating them? Because, you know, my legs are different to yours. And if you don't understand the mechanics of my legs, how can you tell me how to run? You can just tell me, just do this, right? And that's where your education comes in, and you can serve someone because you can educate them in the right way with the knowledge you have. Now, whether they want to listen or not is up to them, but you can give, you can only take the horse to water, you can't make it drink, right? And I'm sure you see that, especially personal people in your life. There's so many things that you can try and help with, but if someone doesn't want to listen, they just don't want to listen. And until they're ready to listen, they're not going to hear what you say, right?
Yeah. Like I've made mistakes in the past of trying to inform someone on something and expecting them to do it. And I've given them all the jazzy stuff, you know, wrapped up in tinsel, thinking now they know this, they're going to go make a massive change. When in reality, all you need to do is find the one thing that they can do, which might be, you know, start going out for a walk in the evenings for 10, 15 minutes. That might be the one thing they will realistically do that will create change, rather than, you know,
everything.
surrounding them with too much information that they can't practically apply straight away.
And I think if you give too much information, it becomes information overload, doesn't it? And then you switch off, rather, because you're interested in it. For you, it'd be great because it's so much information that serves you. But when someone's not in that space, it's like someone talking to me about car engines. They can talk to me all day about it. If they just told me where to put the water in, I'm happy with that. That will serve me. But if they're going to tell me how the whole engine works and why it does this, it'll be too much. And then I won't even put the water in, because then I'm not sure where this information is going and why they're telling me all this, and it doesn't interest me. You know. Say again?
I've seen a lot of coaches like coaching and instructing what they're into and what they enjoy and what works for them, but not considering that it's not about them, it's about the person that they're trying to help, the person that they're educating. And you've got to do what they enjoy and what they believe is going to work for them and what they can put their energy towards, you know. And it's not about us as coaches, it's about them as the client. And you see it so much of people trying to always pass on their beliefs and pass on their ideas to people, rather than just advising and sharing perspectives to them and let people make their own decisions.
And it's adapting your knowledge for that person, right? And that's, I think, the skill of a great educator, when you can wrap up a really complicated process in a method that someone else understands. And it's the same process or same method in your head. If you want me to be technical, I'll be technical. If you want me to be simple, I'll be simple, but I can still get the message across. And for me, that's always been the sign of a good educator, when someone can put together everything they know into a package which I understand, if I'm not in that space, right? And that's where, as educators, you know, you and other people that are in that space, that's the honing of the craft. And that's a skill that you need to be honing all the time, because you're flooded with information. It's how can I package this up to serve the people in front of me, whatever the client is, right?
Yeah, that's when you truly understand it.
Yeah.
You know, when you can decipher it and you can change angles from it and you can put it into this context or this context or this context to suit whoever you're delivering it to.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's where you can serve your best as well, right? So whichever client comes in front of you, you know you can help them because you have all the armor or you have all the weapons. You just need to pick the right one. So if a screw comes to you, you have a screwdriver. If a nail comes to you, you have a hammer. And that's what's going to serve. There's no point having a screwdriver with a screwdriver with a nail, because nothing's going to happen, right? So, So as we sort of approach the end of this conversation, there's a couple of things that I'd like to go into a little bit more, so the guests, the people that are listening, learn a little bit more about you and the way you think. Now, what's happened? We've reached the end of your life. You've reached your 150 years old. You've done everything you want to do. You've helped people understand their body, their movement, and you've aided so many people in their recovery, but also their strength. And now you're on the last moments before you move on to your next journey. There's 3 words that that you've been asked to write down on a piece of paper, or 3 statements which have served you in your life and have made you the person and helped you in your journey. What would those 3 statements or words be for you that you hope will help the people that are listening today?
Kind of accept it, embrace it, and go with it.
Perfect.
Yeah, kind of the go with it might also be kind of let go of it. So kind of accept it, embrace it, and go with it. And while you're going with it, you might also be letting go of something else.
And I think that what underpins all that is trust yourself, right? Trust yourself and who you are, because everyone knows the right answer. You just have to trust your intuition, right? Even if the whole world is pointing in one direction, we might need to just look in that direction and say, actually, I think it's actually this way. And only when you have bravery and courage to move in that direction, because you've listened to your intuition, that you realize why that was. I think becoming quiet, like you said earlier in the conversation, there's practices like meditation, becoming comfortable with yourself, which allow you to start listening to the signs, right? When your body speaks, a lot of the time your body speaks in the language of feelings, right? It tells you. When you're thirsty, when you're dehydrated, it tells you there's a sign already. You don't need to wait for the sign, but if you listen and you start becoming comfortable with your body, you start hearing those signs, right? When you're tired, rest a bit more. When you need to get up, get up. When you need to have a day where you're just relaxed, have that day and trust yourself, because tomorrow will be a different day, right?
Yeah, I guess the best thing, the way I would put it is like your body and your brain will do everything it possibly can to keep you safe. All it wants is to feel sturdy and safe and have security.
Yeah.
So you're always going to look after yourself no matter what.
Yeah.
So if you trust that and you trust yourself, regardless of how someone else might judge a decision that you make, just go with it, because your body's doing what it knows best to look after you. Even like, let's say you've got certain demons and certain characteristics of yourself that you don't like and you want to change. At the same time, you still need to respect them, because they're in the past, they've kept you safe in the best way they know they can. And once you know that, you can just go for whatever you want to go for in life.
Yeah, perfect. Now, this podcast is called Bigger Than the Hustle, and right now you're bigger than the world. So what I've done is I've sourced a mic that's connected to 7.58 billion people in this planet. Everyone can hear you, everyone's connected, everyone's awake, everyone's conscious. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to share a message. If that was the case, what would your message be to the world?
Trust your own instincts. You're going to have judges in life, whether you do something good or bad. You could be an absolute saint, or you could be an absolute narcissist and devil, and you're going to be judged either way. So trust your instincts and go with what you want to go to. Know your values, know what means a lot to you, and live your life by those. As long as they don't disrespect other people's values, you're good. Okay, so as long as you respect other people's space, whatever you believe, trust it and go with it, regardless of any judgment from anywhere else.
Thank you. Perfect, and that was well put. So at this point, Jack, I'd like to thank you for your time. Thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for imparting your energy with us today. I've seen some of the stuff you've done in terms of the posts you've written, and I like the energy you're coming from. Being recommended to me from my cousin, who I trust, I think is always the best way to be introduced to people, because I know you've done good for someone else. That's important to me. So I thank you for that as well. I will definitely be coming to you for more advice as I sort of step up my running journey. Before I hit that start line in New York next year, I'll know there's people around me like you that have served me, that have helped me be the best version of myself and be strong within myself. So Thank you, and I acknowledge you for your own knowledge that you've put yourself and your life on the line for this and for people like me to be strong within ourselves. So just before we go, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Just thanks to yourself for having me today. Some great questions, really getting me think from different angles. Thanks to Sheila for this opportunity again as well.
Yeah.
Likewise, as you said, having good relationships with people builds trust, which knows any referrals or any recommendations from anyone comes with trust and experience as well. So,
and I think what all you can do, Jack, is to continue to serve people the way you do. Treat everyone like an individual. And when you come up with an obstacle where someone comes to you with something that you're not sure about, see it as a challenge for you to grow, and see it as a chance that actually there's something I don't know. So what I'm going to do is use this real life example to try and help you. Because that's the only way we can grow as people, right? We can be humble to say, actually, I don't know, but I would do my damnedest to find out for you. So keep coming at the world like that. And I know you'll keep growing, you'll keep enjoying it, and you'll keep attracting people to you, because the world needs to see people like you being the best they can in service to everyone around them. So thank you. So this has been Bigger Than the Hustle podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Jack shared some great knowledge, and he's always available if you do need help. I'll be hooking up his details on the show notes afterwards. So if you do want to get in touch in terms of about your body, about your movement, about any ailments you may be having, he's a great guy. He's learned a lot himself through, not just through books, but from life as well. So he can help you on that journey. So thank you again, Jack, for your time. Now, big energy leads to big thoughts. Big thoughts lead to big ideas. Big ideas lead to big actions, and big actions lead to a big life. So keep thinking big. Until next week, see you later. Goodbye.
But this particular movement of Black Lives Matter is that it can be really easy for people to go, well, I'm not part of the police, I don't kill black people, I don't stamp on someone's neck. But what are the ways in which we feed into the structure that exists that disadvantages black communities so severely?